Estás viendo Canal América, televisión dominicana para el mundo.
A Time for True Show is sponsored by the Office of Dr. Bernard Fialkoff, a periodontal, dental implant and laser specialist in New York City, for over 40 years. Dr. Fialkoff was honored by the International College of Dentists and Pierre Fauchard, and received the Presidential Lifetime Humanitarian Honor from the White House. Call us at 718-229-3838.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your fears.
Welcome back to A Time for True show. I'm your host, Dr. Bernard Fialkoff, and we have an excellent show tonight because it has to do with something that's very valuable. A resource that really people don't talk about, but it's the most important thing. It's really why we're living. It's what we live for. And it's the future of the family, really of your dreams. What are we talking about? We're talking about your kids. We're talking about your sons, your daughters. The future of the world will be in their hands. And tonight's show, we're very lucky to have with us in the studio someone with two other very important men and a very important woman. There's always a woman there. Hold this thing together, Iconic Sports Lab. And that's Mr. Steve Espaillat of Queens, New York, an engineer. If you put his pictures up on the screen, there we go. There's the logo of Iconic Sports Lab. Mr. Espaillat has worked as an educator for over 20 years with a passion as a community leader and educator, impacting and transforming the lives of at-risk youth across New York City, Miami, and Latin America. Beyond his role as a certified performance specialist, there you see him on the screen, he remains a cornerstone of inspiration within the New York City Department of Education, seamlessly blending sports, creativity, mentorship through his Iconic Sports Lab, which was co-founded by him and two others that he'll tell you about. His unwavering commitment to community outreach has touched countless families, epitomizing a relentless pursuit of transformative change through the synergy of education and sports, a very important combination. Because when you're dealing with youth, you've got to have their attention. It's got to be exciting. It's got to be high energy. Can't be dull, mundane. And so he uses that to prepare them as the next generation of leaders. And there you see him on the screen with those young kids. And so if we will, Buddha, let's go to the main screen and bid a warm welcome to Mr. Steve Espaillat.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you, Steve.
Thank you.
So, I know you're a very humble guy, but what I ask you is to let the viewers know, because I know that there's so much that you're doing, and I like your approach, very calm. And so first I want it for the viewers, because there's going to be kids out there watching, people out there wondering how they're going to do it. So what were your dreams when you were a young man?
For me, like many kids growing up in the city, I always wanted to be a professional athlete. Baseball was definitely my passion, and so was basketball. So growing up, playing in the parks, playing in the playgrounds, playing till the sun comes down was one of the things that for me was always like a dream of mine to one day play at at Yankee Stadium or playing for the Knicks, growing up in New York City. So growing up playing sports for me was like the driving point of why I decided to start the nonprofit.
Makes sense. And so then what happened in terms of how did you transition or how did you incorporate the education with the sports? Why is it that you decided not just only go sports, but you then said, no, education is something I want to include? What happened?
Sports, coaching, teaching, it's all synonymous, So I remember, when I was a young teenager, growing up in a neighborhood in Corona, Queens, a lot of violence and a lot of turbulence was around me. So I looked up to certain people as mentors to keep me away from certain things and just the opportunity that playing sports brings, right? You get to meet people, you get to build relationships, but at the end of it, at the core of it all is, you have to have some type of education because that all connects us, the mindset, it all connects, it connects the community, it connects the people. So for me, it was pretty much an easy transition for me to get into education.
Beautiful. And you went over something that I think is important to get into a little bit, because when you were younger, and here you are an athlete, how did you talked about who you looked up to, but personally within yourself, how did you push away those things that somehow involve other athletes who have so much potential, sometimes boxers, whatever, or other athletes, and then go the wrong way? So what advice would you give to those guys out there, those women out there who are athletes, or even young people, to avoid that happening in their lives?
Chase your dream, go after it. And that comes with pain and suffering, and you got to be able to endure it, So if you want to be a professional athlete, you have to spend a lot of time in the gym, you have to work out, you have to, that separates. As the saying goes, there's levels to it, right? So not everyone gets to play professional, but for us, we encourage the young athlete to go to school, to pick up the book, become, someone of value to the community. But at the same time, why don't you go and become an accountant? Why don't you become an educator? Why don't you become, chase something that's more a profession at the same time chasing your dream. Right. So education and sports for me has always been something that goes hand in hand.
Yeah, no, ever since I met you the first time, I've seen that, you have that mindset. And you also, it's very interesting, I wanted to ask you, I have a friend of mine who I call Buddha, because he's a very mellow guy. And being here with you, even for a short time just now, tell us a little bit about this mindset, because I see you're very relaxed.
Well, deep down inside, I'm not. It's a chaos in there, but you got to know how to stay calm under pressure. I think that I always say it to my young athletes. No pressure, no diamonds is a campaign that Adidas came up with a few years, a long time ago. But I still live by that. We're in constant pressure all the time. So how do you deal with that? How do you stay calm? And this is a good time to talk about my mom. I mean, my mom was a person that always, no matter what, she always had a smile on her face. She was always very supportive and, very calm. Always had a lot of friends around me in the house, and she always kept us, fed, number one, right? She always fed us. Yeah, she fed us and always spread a lot of love. But I think it's important to always understand that pressure always is going to take you to different places, and you got to kind of always stay centered. And I can't say anything if I don't mention, the reason why, which is, God upstairs. He's my number one. I stay praying. I stay in that place of, does it make sense? It doesn't. And I always ask him if it does. And usually, he always answers that questions for me. So combination of that, family, friends that are around me, keep me nice and grounded. So.
Very nice. Well, what's your mom's name? Because we're going to acknowledge her on the show.
Well, may she rest in peace, Telma Altagracia Espaillat. May she rest in peace.
Okay. But you know what? I know that my mom had a big effect. At one time in high school, she was on my case because I was giving her a hard time about something I didn't want to do. And I said to her, well, those guys, they just do what they're doing, and, you know, it's not me. I'm never going to do it. And she said something in Spanish to me, where she said to me, you know, the reason you're not making it is in Spanish. I'll say it in Spanish because it's not that bad. It's just, porque tú no quieres sentar en tu fondillo y hacerlo. It's just because you don't sit on your rear long enough to do it.
Yeah.
But it's funny, from that day forward, I actually did, and it impacted me tremendously. So that it really led to a lot of the success that I had from then on. And so I can understand what you're saying. And she passed away a few years ago also. And but here, actually, to all the mothers who are out there, because all of you, all of the mothers that we've had, so important in this world. And so I want to ask you now, so you have this background, and then what makes you form and co-found this iconic sports lab?
To be honest with you, failure. I attended a high school in Queens. Baseball team was very, I mean, they were elite at the time. I think they won a championship. I tried out for them, and I didn't make it. And that left a real deep, like, scar in me. So I even stopped playing baseball for a while, and I started playing basketball. So I always, in my heart, I was always, like, focused on not allowing someone else to feel what I felt, because not feeling accepted or not feeling like you're part of something can really do damage, can really harm somebody. So, you know, the foundation was birthed out of that, to give kids the hope that I should have had someone say, you know what, you didn't make it. All right, let's go back in the lab and let's work. You know, let's put in extra swings. Let's wake up earlier. Let's put extra reps. And I didn't get to see that, and I get to do that. So I didn't know whether or not how that would have turned out for me. But I always said it to myself, that's not going to happen again, like to somebody else. So that was like the real, like, reason for it. And in college, I had a mentor who was actually one of the co-founders. His name is Sergio Morales. He definitely guided me in college and gave me valuable lessons that I still hold dear. And him, and alongside Felipe Lopez, who actually also attended the school, we
St. John's.
We went to St. John's University. So we decided at some point in the future we were going to get together and do something so that we can give back to the community, and also for me personally, give back to somebody that kind of have gone through the same process that I went through, failing at something, not making a team. And it's been like, for me, a dream come true to be able to help somebody who's didn't have the opportunity to play. Now they either, play at a varsity level, or, even if it's a club team, it's a real fulfilling, feeling. It's very fulfilling.
I can imagine, it's like, it's interesting how certain things happen in our lives, and you can look at it as a failure, but it depends on the viewpoint that you take. One of the things I've seen as I've started to grow and I see how much you've done in your life, is I realize certain things I thought I failed because I looked at it from my viewpoint only. And then when I saw, oh, you know what I learned is going to happen and help all of these other people. And then you realize it's not a failure. It's interesting, because if you hadn't done that, then you wouldn't have started this iconic sports lab.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. The great thing about working with youth is you don't really know, like, the impact that you have just by doing something so small, right? So if you really put it in content, the kids, when they come into the sports lab, their objective is to, obviously become better athletes, but we do something for us that we hold real dear, which is mentoring. We stay with them. We make sure we're following up with them and with their school, teaching them valuable lesson, making sure that their mindset is nice and strong. And you see it once they start to evolve into the next level, whether they go to high school or they go to college, and they come back and they share their testimonies or their stories with the younger kids. you realize that long road that you were with them, being their mentor, how it's impacting not just them, but the kids and everybody else who's following.
Sure. Because I have friends who are watching.
Absolutely.
They have family members, whatever. Yeah, I mean, you know, there's a saying that I've heard that you save the child, you save the nation. And, you know, what you're doing is doing exactly that. I mean, how does it make you feel inside, you know, at the end of the day, when you go back and, you know, you're lucky you got your wife with you, and we'll talk about that in a minute. How does it feel when you go back at the end of the day for you?
It's amazing. I just came back from one of our locations in Corona that we're offering. We actually have an academy, but we also offer free soccer to the community, and you know, obviously in certain places they can't afford, you know, to play at clubs, or for whatever reason, you know, obviously their financial struggles or whatever. But when you come in and you start giving them these resources, and you know, you also collect that, do it in the collection with love and family and community, there's no better feeling. You know, there's no better feeling when a kid, you know, calls me, "Coach, listen, I just got accepted to this college," or, you know, "I'm graduating," or, you know, "I got a job with, you know, with an accounting firm," or, "Listen, I just, you know, we designed this clothing line and I know you were able to help me through that." Like, there's no better feeling. You know, there's no better feeling.
Beautiful. Well, you know, as you were talking, you made me realize something. Unfortunately, it won't happen November 12th, but we had planned with drug education in Guatemala to actually hold some soccer games in their arena. And there's Tony Mendez is down there, and also, you know, Freddy Anzueto, who's the director of the Guatemalan Drug Council. So maybe, now that it's getting postponed, maybe these young guys that you have, we can formulate a team out of New York. And who knows, maybe we can bring it down there, and when we have this game, that they could come down and we could do something where we show what you're doing to the world and expand it. What do you think of the idea?
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome, man. We're locked in. We're ready. We're ready.
Okay. Yeah, you know what? Because in the world, we have so much technology. But what you're doing and what Felipe are doing with kids, to me, is 100% more important than all the technology in the world that we're having with this AI and tremendous things. But that's the future of the world, you know? I mean, what's your feeling about what's happening in the world right now, and what you'd like to see change for youth, or, you know, for young people?
I mean, it's evident that times is fastly growing right in front of us. Technology obviously has a lot to do with it. You just have to stay. You have to stay with the times. You have to adapt and adjust. So, for me, I would like to see more youth get involved with that piece of it. You know, with the AI, I guess, orchestration, the behind the scenes, getting more involved with, you know, the technology side of it, so that they can see it and they can be part of the, you know, the evolution, because it's clearly out of our hands. It's already so fastly, it's happening so rapidly that you have to join it. You have to be, you know, you have to come to terms with it and figure out how to also work with it.
Implement it.
Implement it, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us about the events, because, you know, I know you're in a lot of different places now. You're in Miami now also, right?
Yeah, we just launched the Just Ball program, which we partnered up with the U.S. Soccer Foundation and Adidas. We did it last year in Queens, and we had an incredible success with, you know, providing free soccer to kids that, you know, that obviously that need it. And we impacted so many kids in Queens, and the opportunity presented itself to do it in Miami. So now we launched it in Homestead, and, you know, we're very excited for the opportunity. We're getting to build more relationships, and, you know, we definitely want to give a big thank you to the U.S. Soccer Foundation and Adidas for allowing us to, you know, to partner up with them and create, you know, these opportunities for young, you know, boys and girls to play. They're competing, they're building confidence. It's great to see. You know, conversation is something that's almost like non-existent if it's not through technology. Like if you go anywhere and you see a few kids sitting around a table, they're on their gadgets texting each other.
Even though they're right there.
They're 3 feet away, and there's no conversation skills as it should be. And I think that's important because that's how we met, right? We met in that.
That's right.
Just having just talking. Hey, what you're into? And a few years later we're here in your show, and then that's what something I feel like kids need to grab more to, that you just never know. Like in any room you walk into, you just never know who you run into. And we ran into some important people, and it's, what is that to say if I don't go up to them and say, hey, how you doing? My name is Steve. Just have conversation.
Right. No, exactly right. I mean, I remember we spoke, and I think I mentioned to you I was going to go somewhere to do drug education, and you told me about what you and Felipe were doing. And the next thing you know, I think a few days later, we all met on Saturday at my office. We spoke, and I still have that bag.
Right. Yes.
I still have those bags, and we took them around Salvador, Guatemala, and all the events we went to, and we put them out, and I still have. I told Felipe the other day. I said, "Yeah, I kept a few of them for myself." I gotta be honest with you.
You have. That's awesome.
I loved it, And so now, when you do these events, what, like with the kids, aside from obviously they're coming to they're athletes, whatever. Are there certain themes that you see that with your lab that you're doing, not so much just for sports, but for the community and for the future of the country?
Of course. So creativity is one of the things that I feel is underutilized. And I say that in terms of letting a kid really go into areas of interest, right? For us, music, art. Our logo actually was designed by a really good friend of ours that also grew up in Corona, and he's done remarkable work with Nike and a bunch of other big brands. And him able to work with us and collaborate with the young kids, and they can see, oh, I can do that too. I don't have to be an athlete. I can get into designing. I can, fashion, music, sports. They all intertwine. So it's important for the kids to also venture off into these different sectors so that they can say, oh, you know what? I'm pretty good with a camera.
Sure.
I can get into digital, design, or, whatever that the case is, or get into music production or engineering. So for us, that's something that we really try to embody when we get the kids into the program. Yes, we're servicing them through sports. Yes, we're building leaders through sports, but we feel like one of the things that's really deeply rooted in our DNA is the ability to allow them to touch into other creative places that they didn't even know they had, and it's there,
It's so important because what happens is we just recently came back from Honduras, where with the national police and the dentists of the country and the athletes, who came with us, which Felipe was one of them, we collaborated. And the dental group there had their video people. And if those video people weren't there, it wouldn't have been the same. And then, we had to go eat, and we had to be at the hotel, and, we had to get through the city. And, sometimes, like what you said, is so important, but we don't look at it, is we got to take a look and realize that the world exists because of people. And each one of them, it's amazing to me that each one of them does what they want to do, and they correlate and collaborate, and here we have all this, but we think somehow it just came out of the sky.
Yeah.
It's just here.
Amazing.
But yeah.
It's amazing. I was
Right?
When I drove here, am I in the right place? And I walked in, and I was definitely blown away by this. This is beautiful. So
Yeah. Well, we got to give, I tell you what, I believe in giving credit. So we'll give credit to Jorge Buddha Rodriguez. We call him Buddha because he's so mellow, like Steve here, and Canal America, because they really, I got to tell you, he did a great event in the Bronx about a week ago with all these singers. And he does it for the community. He doesn't charge.
love it.
And they called it Fiestón. And the thing was like over the top. It was. I see that the engineer here was there. He loved it. Victor. And but let's go. We have only a short time. I want to ask you, because I know there's a lot that you want to get done. What would you like to see change in New York City, in the country, in the world?
Oh, that's a
tough one.
That's
I'll give you a tough question.
Oof. I want to see more mentors. I want to see more resources. I want to see, leadership doing what they're supposed to do. The real, and I always go back to the ground. The real heat and the diamond is on the bottom and the ground and the toughest, intersections, right, of pressure. And I think that we need to get down there and try to help as many kids as we can, because that's where the real work is, in where it's needed, where kids are, coming home to one parent, gangs, they're surrounded by, unfortunate situations that they're in, right? But what happens? Sometimes they just are in the side. They're in the sidelines. So how can we get to them? We need to come in as a collective unit, and we have to come in there with a game plan and give them more resources and have things in place for them so that they can succeed.
Absolutely. Now, if those people out there watching the show want to get a hold of your Iconic Sports Lab, what is your email?
So our email is iconicsportslab@gmail.com. Our Instagram is Iconic Sports Lab. All the social media outlets is Iconic Sports Lab.
Beautiful. Well, I got to give you a compliment. There's a guy who I loved when he was a young boxer, and he was unbelievable, Foreman, George Foreman.
Oh,
George Foreman. And he was a little bit of a wild guy when he was young, and then he became a minister. Then he came back, and he did what no one in the world ever thought he was going to do, and won the world championship, I think, at the oldest age of anybody in the world. But the thing that I found so interesting, and why one of these days I want to have him on the show, is how mellow he became and how understanding he became of human life. And one compliment I wanted to give you, as I've been sitting here for about 20 minutes, is that your calmness, but your strength is really, it's amazing. And I want to thank you for being on the show.
I appreciate that. Thank you. So before I do depart, I definitely want to, shout, and give the flowers to my beautiful wife, who, ever since she came into the role as an executive director, is when Iconic Sports Lab really took off. I, as a coach, as an educator, as a trainer, when you're on the ground, your mind is to, push the kid to become a better athlete. But the X's and O's, the administrative stuff, the organization, the infrastructure, that's all in due to, the wonderful work that, Dr. Yocasta Espaillat is doing as an executive director for the Sports Lab. So I want to make sure I give her flowers, because she is definitely one of the major reasons why we're standing here in this show talking about the Sports Lab and its success.
Let's bring back some normality and love and guidance to the world. And I think we'll see a big change in all these things we're trying to solve. Till the next time, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you on the next episode.
This show was sponsored by A Time for Truth Foundation Incorporated as a community service.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got. But the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your feet